that kid in the pool, I'm done. They're looking over like they're gonna.
Let's go, Slap News fans. This is the preview show. We are here in New Orleans breaking down everything for you, leading into Power Slap number 14. Ding, what do you feel like the vibe's been like so far here in New Orleans?
You know what? It is extremely humid here in New Orleans. I know you're not really acclimatizing real well, but there's some other people who come from other parts of the country that are not doing so hot. I wonder how Zakir's doing. I mean, it's pretty hot where he's from, I'd imagine. But, yeah, I mean, listen, New Orleans is unique. I think we'll sort of break the fourth wall on that here in the future. But everybody seems like they're locked in. People seem like they're excited to be here. And these odds, man, these odds are crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of movement so far. We've seen, some guys open up with tighter lines, and we've seen those lines expand. I mean, right off the hop, we've got Damien Debell, who is obviously a big favorite, going up against Wes Mena. I've got right now minus 330 for the Bell and a plus 230 on Wes Mena. Do they have it right here with the odds from Caesars here in New Orleans?
Well, you know, it's interesting. Obviously, Damien Debell's been an extremely dominant champion, probably the most dominant that we've seen to this point. His only quote-unquote blemish, and this shows you how dominant he is, how competitive the Dorian Perez fight was and how that could have went either way. I think what's interesting about this is it actually opened up at a minus 350. So Wes has actually become less of a dog. Damien Debell has become less of a favorite. Not significantly, but it does show you that the line is moving in that direction, which is very, very interesting. I think they do have it right in that Damien Debell's tried, he's tested, he's beat everybody they put in front of him in dominant fashion, to include the legend, somebody that Dana White himself has called the GOAT, Wolverine. And Wes Mena, although he has a 4-0 record, I think the strength of his schedule, his resume, doesn't quite add up to what Damien Debell's accomplished in the sport. There's no disrespect to Wes Mena, but I do believe he is rightfully deserving to be the underdog in this match.
For sure. I mean, Damien Debell, 5-0, unstoppable since coming to Power Slap. Obviously, we don't talk about his experience that he's had in the SlapFIGHT Championship, and I mean, talking at a very young age, for what he's been able to accomplish. And as you said, if there was a strength of schedule, a strength of matches, Damien Debell has fought stiffer competition than Wes Mena. And I mean, we can't fault the guy for who's going up against him. We know Wes Mena, the challenger, obviously coming in, as the number 3 ranked heavyweight in the division, has shown a lot. And, he's shown enough for the brass of Power Slap to be able to put him in this opportunity here in New Orleans. Obviously, coming from Atlanta, we know that he is going to have a huge contingent backing behind him, but Damien Debell has been incredibly dominant. I mean, he seems to love and enjoy and embrace being hit. And as he goes through the rounds, he gets even better and better every single time. And, he has a very unique body composition. And I keep saying this every time he's up there. He's just built different. Very wide jaw on the defensive side. We've never really seen him stumbled. And, I mean, even on top of that, the strike that he delivers, very, very long arms, travels a significant amount of weight, gets a lot of whip on his strike, and is able to do a considerable amount of damage. So, the lines on this, I think, are very relatively even or fair. And, right now, Wes Mena is a dog, as you alluded to. And some of that could be, obviously, that local following putting money on him at Vegas right now. But let's get into the co-main event, which is the biggest lines that we have so far. We've got Robert Trujillo at a minus 400, taking on Dakota McGregor at a plus 275.
So this line actually swelled. If I'm not mistaken, it opened up with Robert Trujillo at, I think, minus 250. Now he's minus 400. That means there's been quite a bit of action and activity on Robert Trujillo. Look, again, no disrespect to his competitor, no disrespect to Dakota McGregor, but that was a very one-sided fight the first time they were up there, and that was, at this point, 4 months ago. And so, as a bettor, I think that the safest bet would always go with not only the reigning champion, a guy who's been, I don't think that he's faced the same level of competition like as a Damien Debell, but I do believe he's been just as dominant, if not more. He doesn't have competitive matches like Damien had against Dorian Perez.
Yes.
Robert Trujillo's been as dominant as they come. It's just that the talent that he's faced is questionable, and I think that's a little bit of a problem and why Damien Debell kind of has that edge. But if you're talking about in the world of favorites, Robert Trujillo's is as big as they come because he's already done this to the guy. He's already taken him in deep waters, 5 rounds, dropped him once, made him shake a couple other times. It's been 4 months. I don't know how much can change, so I think they got these lines right.
I mean, for sure. I mean, we're nitpicking. I mean, this is the cream of the crop, the top of the top. And as you kind of alluded to, Dakota McGregor, I mean, in 3 months, can he change too much? But I will say that is that any one given shot, any guy could go down. If you can find that button And I mean, that's one of the beautiful things about Power Slap. One of the things that make betting on Power Slap incredibly difficult. Some of the prop bets, we see some things with prize picks where you pick total number of slaps in matches. A lot easier to pick sometimes than the actual winners here in Power Slap. But as you know, when we do get to the top, you can look and you can find ways, like you said, about Robert Trujillo, who has been incredibly dominant in the sport. He's got a background in MMA. Dakota McGregor doesn't have that same pedigree. He wasn't a seasoned combat sport athlete before getting into Power Slap. And as we said, he can't grow an extra arm, an extra leg, anything like that from before. And so how much of a difference is it going to make? Robert Trujillo was in complete control of that match in Power Slap, the last time that these two athletes, faced each other approximately 3 months ago. So we see that line continue to swell. Not sure where it's going to settle in or if this, minus 400 is where it's going to end up, but I think it's priced appropriately and fairly if you want to go down that. But it is a lot of money to put out to be able to make back 100, being 400 to 1 to make 100. So it's big money for sure.
Yeah, I mean, moving on. Look, we got one of the bigger grudge matches that we've ever seen in Power Slap. I think this is one that is really for the casual fan. I think that this is one that you can enter if you're looking at how you're going to bring somebody into the sport for the first time. Vern Cathy versus Austin Turpin is absolutely what you would like to show them. I think the build-up, right, the way the first match went, the fact that Austin Turpin hasn't shown up since June of 2024 at Power Slap number 8. Now we're at Power Slap 14. They're running it back in what I would say is more closer to Austin Turpin's neck of the woods. He's making his return. We know that this is a heavyweight match, which I think historically favors Austin Turpin quite a bit. We don't know what he'll look like on weigh-in day, but we know that he'll have the edge as far as weight goes. Vern Cathy's used to and comfortable competing at 205, between 205 and 220 based on the weight miss in the past with Austin Turpin that he kind of found out and was able to just eat. But I do think when you talk about not liking each other, this is as close as you're going to get to the sport as we've ever seen. Now, you talk about the way that these lines opened up. They opened up at a 115 pick'em. Both guys were 115. Vern Cathy has since swelled to, I believe, a minus 180 favorite. Correct. And Austin Turpin's down as an underdog at plus 140. I think this makes sense given the fact of how the last match went. Yeah. Austin Turpin had nothing for Vern Cathy on that night. Vern Cathy ate those shots like no problem and delivered something devastating back. I think on the flip side, the bettors are probably not discounting the weight here. And I think that might be just a confusion thing. Austin Turpin on weight, with more weight, it's not good for anybody. I mean, just ask Ron Wolverine, Bada. Historically, he does really well when he's got more weight. And I think in this match, he actually might have significantly more weight because my understanding is Vern Cathy's expecting to come in around 225. I don't know what Austin Turpin's going to come in with. Having seen him, I'd say somewhere near 240, 250.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple things for me when I look at this. Austin Turpin, obviously you said, has had a long layoff. I question what is Austin's, seriousness. How serious does he take the sport of Power Slap? Has he been training? Has he been preparing? From 8 until 14, the sport has advanced a lot. The rules have changed. We know Austin Turpin is a gamer. We know he shows up. We know he's got that dog in him. Just, through brute strength and determination, he's able to pull his willpower through. But as you climb through the ranks and as you, face stiffer competition, a lot of that natural God-given ability can't get you through. So that's one of the things for me. On the flip side, Vern Cathy, 5 months ago, we seen him laying on the floor against Wolverine over in Saudi Arabia. So his chin has been cracked. We've talked about it before. Once that chin is cracked, you never come back as strong as you were before. And so seeing, obviously, Vern Cathy in that particular state, has there been enough of a layoff for him to fully recover? We're not going to know until fight night. And so, I think there's some recency bias, kind of playing into this as well, of why Vern Cathy's coming in at a bit more of a favorite now. If you got in on those early lines and, you favored one way or the other, that was obviously the optimal time to do it. But I think recency bias plays into effect. And, we're seeing Vern Cathy now. This is his third match at heavyweight. So he is, no stranger to it. In this particular, way, talking to Vern, he says he walks around 225. He's been able to eat and enjoy himself this entire time. And I don't think there's actually that much of an advantage, to be quite honest, honest, where this match is happening at heavyweight, to say it favors Austin or it favors Vern, because I think both these athletes are going to come in, much heavier. I think it's going to help both of them as well, and we'll ultimately see who can, scheme and game plan better. I think, for Vern Cathy, I think it has to be much more of a tactical approach. I think he's got to be more of a tacticianer, much more precision. Where I think Austin's going to go up there with brute force and just have sheer determination, willpower. We know the war of words, have already started. If you're watching Slap News, you see it up there already. It's going to go in at the face-off, and things are just going to keep on building. And we do know that Vern Cathy builds on that animosity. When he feels like he's being disrespected or he feels like he's the underdog, we know that fuels him as well. This one is, going to be one for the ages, and one that I'm glad they were able to get on the card and get on the main card to really ignite those fan bases once again. And, hopefully this match can turn the casual fan into a much more serious fan of Power Slap, because I think it has the opportunity to entertain people through and through.
Yeah, you know what? I think this has got Fight of the Night written all over it. Should both these guys be able to show up? Everybody loves Austin Turpin, and I think with respect to every other athlete that exists, I think, I'll steal a quote of I believe it's Daniel Cormier. He says, "John, the UFC is better with John Jones in it. Power Slap is better with Austin Turpin in it." So, all right, moving on. Darren Godfrey, the Chief Kali Kakoa, the rematch.
Yeah.
First fight ended in a brutal knockout. Darren Godfrey was successful in Abu Dhabi, Power Slap number 9. So these odds reflect that. I think I'm actually a little surprised they're not a heavier favorite for Darren. Obviously, what the Chief's done is not to be discounted. But Darren Godfrey opened up at a minus 150. He sits at a minus 150 now. The Chief's at a plus 120. When you consider all things, what the Chief has done since that match, the strength of his own schedule, right, taking out a guy like Wesley Drain, obviously no easy task. And I think when you consider that, and Darren Godfrey's been on the shelf, I mean, it's tough to discount the guy and everything that Chief's been able to accomplish. I will say I'm a little bit surprised that minus 1.5 is the way that it all went.
For sure. And I think when you look at this, I mean, it's home field advantage for, the Chief in this match compared to Darren Godfrey. Obviously competing overseas. But we're going to see, as you said, the Chief has grown since. He knows the mistakes that he made, especially against Darren Godfrey. We know that he's not going to give him this chin the way that he did the first time, and allow Darren to have a complete, free, shot at him the way that it did. And we're going to see. We're going to see have those rules change. I mean, Darren Godfrey on the defensive side as well, with the way that he arches his shoulders in his traps, it's going to be very interesting to see how the judges, if they're going to realign them and stuff like that. I think this becomes a much closer match and a much more, match that can and has the ability to go deeper into the match. I think it's one that we could see an upset, to be quite honest with you. I wouldn't be shocked one way or the other, whether Darren or if the Chief is able to go through and be able to pull this out. So.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at really quickly just the last couple fights on this card. Some big highlights that I'd like to talk about. Emmanuel Munis opening up at a minus 350 against Brendan Rhodes, returning to his former division at middleweight. I'm just surprised by how big of a favorite he actually is. No discount and no discredit to Manny, but Brendan Rhodes, I mean, he's also a guy that the Chief left in his wake, dropped him 3 times, and he kept coming back. I think it's I agree with Brendan. It's a little disrespectful, but you can't discount what Manny Munis has done in this sport.
But I mean, we really haven't seen Brendan. Like, let's be honest, we haven't seen him on a lot of televised fights. Obviously, there's been a lot of disqualifications and fouls that have played into his matches and the outcomes of those matches. And so I think it just becomes, who do you know when you're looking at the betting sheet? You look at Emmanuel Munis from the matches that he's fought for titles where you haven't seen the same for Brendan Rhodes. And so I think if Brandon can obviously clean stuff up here, it becomes a much more competitive match than what the odds are actually showing here. But it's very difficult, to bet against Emmanuel Munis and the actual odds that are stacked against him right now.
All right, moving back to the heavyweight division, we've got Nate Bernard returning, first time since Power Slap number 9, taking on Aaron Turner, who we just saw at Power Slap 12. Unfortunately, he was unsuccessful against Wes Mena. Wes Mena now gets a title shot, but I think these are two guys that are definitely one fight away. The winner here could absolutely be at least in that title picture. I don't want to promise anything, but Nate Bernard opened up as a big favorite. I'm actually pretty surprised. I'm not going to lie to you. Minus 220, so he's over 2-1 odds over Aaron Turner. I mean, both guys are coming off losses. Nate, obviously a pretty close decision, controversial in some people's eyes, against James Siegman back in October. Aaron Turner, it ends up going against Wes Mena. There's the flinches. It's a very unclean match from Aaron Turner, but I think that there's an experience difference here. I'm pretty surprised that the line has it heavily favoring Nate. I expected it to probably open a little closer. I do believe Nate should be the favorite. I think experience is worth a lot, especially having gone up against a guy named Debell. But it's much bigger than I anticipated.
For sure. And I mean, this match, of any match, I think means more to both these fighters than any other match on the card. This could be a make or break for both of these athletes' career. The winner can go on and propel themselves up, and the loser could go, into oblivion, and we may never see again. We do know, obviously, the losing streak that Nate Bernard is on. We've seen the high of Aaron Turner. We've seen the low of Aaron Turner right now. Can he rebound from what happened last time? It's all to be seen. We know Aaron Turner, as you said, has less experience. However, we do know that he's a student of the game, and he is practicing, and we do know that he's learning every single time, and he takes this incredibly serious. I mean, these two athletes are almost identical in their recruiting makeup. Football background, that these two athletes had, very athletic, very large, big human beings, 6'4" plus, coming in at the top of that 265 weight cap for both these athletes in particular, and so we know that they're going to bring it. And I mean, I think this is a phenomenal match. I mean, there's a ton of heavyweight matches on this card, and I think this one has the opportunity to have fireworks all over it. Can Aaron Turner prove that his shot that he had against Brian Ellis was more than just a one slap wonder? Can he replicate that and get back to it? Can he have the same intensity that he did against Aaron Turner? Because I remember, if you can recall back, being there in the audience, the energy that Aaron Turner had was undeniable. He knew that he wasn't going to lose. He knew that he wasn't going to get hurt. He didn't have that in his second match. Can he find that same confidence once again? These athletes, like we said, the intangibles that they have in terms of their body are identical and same. It's really going to come down to the precision. Who can game who better in this particular outcome, and who really wants more? Because I think that's what's really going to happen. This is definitely going to go deep. I believe that this is going to go into the third round, if not to a decision potentially, because we have seen Nate Bernard, be able to tighten up a little bit more as well. Obviously we've seen him against James Seekman, and they went the distance. James got the decision victory in that particular one, but for him to be able to, because we forget, James Seekman with a loss, but James Seekman had a lot of clout behind him going into that Abu Dhabi card, and he was seen as a guy that was on the ascension up. All of these guys have had their moment as being the next one. Nate was the next one and got propelled against Damian Debell. Aaron Turner was the next one, going into his last match, and so we've seen these particular athletes come. Now they're going to collide, the Colossus, you want to call it the, bodyguard versus bodyguard, as kind of the, in a lot of ways, almost the BMF, really, I think, of the heavyweight division for this particular card, and one that is definitely going to bring fireworks, and we're going to see, does Nate have that little bit of extra experience to help, propel through? But like I said, coming into the third match for Aaron Turner, there is no room for excuses anymore. You're not a rookie anymore. You come into your third match, you have to learn the process and be able to continue through. So, what's next?
Yeah, you know what? You're talking about heavyweight matches on the card. Obviously, the final one that's on this live card, Zakir Namv making the turnaround, fought just 3 weeks ago at Power Slap 13. Unfortunately, he was on the wrong side of a disqualification due to his strike being deemed illegal against Bryce Jones. A lot of power from this guy. The question is, his first strike against Troels Nielsen back in, I believe it was Saudi Arabia?
Correct.
Power Slap 11 in January, and his second strike against Bryce Jones, Power Slap 13 in Las Vegas on June 27th, looked very, very similar. However, the result was the opposite. In January, he was applauded and he was rewarded with a win. That didn't happen 3 weeks ago. And, interesting tidbit of information Zakir gave the public was that, allegedly, and I'm not saying this is 100% fact, but just to give you guys a little history here, Dana White wasn't so convinced on the whole process, was a little skeptical about the outcome, said, hey, kid, stick around, stay in the States. Obviously, he makes the trek over from Kazakhstan. We'll figure out something. And an always game, Cooper Hosley answers the call, steps up, says, you know what, I'll put this guy to the test. And these two are going to collide. Come here, Friday in 2 days. And we're going to see. We saw some training in the Apex. Zakir changing his slap strike, his effort up, right? Doing less of the front forward motion and more of the rounding motion. Yeah. But I'll be honest with you, from a power perspective, it looked very different.
Yeah, 100%. And that's going to be the question, is that does Zakir have enough time to practice this new form to be able to have the power catch up to it? I'm very skeptical on that, to tell you the truth. I don't know if he is striking within the rule set. Is the power that man possesses, a massive upper body, is he going to be able to translate that into a legal strike to cause enough damage to Cooper Hosley? So I've got Cooper Hosley right now at a plus 165, minus 220 for Zakir on the line at Caesars New Orleans. This is one, if you're going to take a dog, I would take that shot on the dog. And I'm going to say that because one, I think if Zakir does strike or, strike with his newfound form, does he have the power to be able to take down Cooper Hosley? And I don't know yet. And when I don't know, I don't bet on those particular outcomes. And then secondly, we have seen the foul prone, call or non-call of Zakir and where that rule set has advanced to. And so I think there's also a high chance of probability that Zakir may be disqualified as well in this particular matchup. And so if you're looking for a dog, I think this is where you go in this particular matchup. On the flip side of it, I'm not going to let Cooper Hosley get out of this one either. Can Cooper do enough to be able to knock down Zakir? That's the question mark that I have. We haven't seen so far in Power Slap, really any chink in Zakir's armor. And can he make that happen? But as I said, when you put it all together in this game, I think if it does go to a decision, I think Cooper, especially if Zakir gets a foul or two in a 3-round match, could be the difference, and I would take the plus money on that side.
Yeah, you know what I do have to say before we move on to the final match? That line actually just moved. As we're sitting here, Zakir's now a bigger favorite at minus 240, with Cooper swelling to a bigger underdog at plus 180. So, seems like the fans think Zakir, they got the belief Zakir's going to make the adjustments and going to get the job done.
Yeah, we'll see. And I think if it goes deeper, does Zakir get frustrated with not being able to put his competitor away with one strike, and does he resort back to what he knows previously? So we'll see.
Absolutely. And last but certainly not least, we move to the super heavyweight division. Not a ton of action in that division on this particular card. Seemed like last card was a little bit more love for the super heavies. Yeah. But we got McKinney, Manu, Big Mac taking on Dwayne Crespo at super heavyweight. The odds have McKinney Manu as a slight favorite, coming in at minus 140. Dwayne Crespo at a plus 110. I'm not so sure. I mean, McKinney looked great in his last match, but he was fighting a debutant. He was fighting Steven Rousey, who'd never done this before. It took him 3 rounds to put the guy away. He puts him away in emphatic fashion, right? Storybook ending, the fall backwards, they catch him, the fall forwards. McKinney seems to know that it's happening the entire time. But you can't discount Dwayne Crespo. He's been around for a long time. He's fought the best of them at heavyweight. He's also fought now the best of them at super heavyweight. His lone super heavyweight match is a decision victory over the current champion, Dane Viernes. Yeah. And I think he deserves some respect. I get it. Dwayne is not the most powerful guy.
Or entertaining.
There you go. You said that, not me. Dwayne?
It's all right. I'll take it. Dwayne, you're not entertaining. Let's see a knockout, buddy. Come on.
So Dwayne Crespo, obviously, not significant in when it comes to the knockouts. Yeah. Definitely not one shot out kind of power. Yeah. He's more of a TKO guy. Will wear the damage on you, put the pressure on, keep the pace, and he'll kind of play the rule set. Mm-hmm. McKinney Manu though is a very powerful guy, and I think, to be perfectly honest, I'm a little concerned about his strength of schedule. He hasn't competed much since we saw him. 100%. Obviously, he's a guy that came off of season 2. If I'm not mistaken, he's competed maybe twice since season 2, which was at the end of 2023 that was filmed. I have some concerns there. The other thing is the the controversy, right? The Danny Van Heerden match didn't go his way. He gets passed over. Danny Van Heerden gets the title shot after that. Obviously, kind of gets put in his place. The Crazy Hawaiian dominates him. So it ends up not being the right move long term. But then you look at Dwayne Crespo versus Dane Viernes. I don't think anybody had it on their bingo board, that Dane Viernes would get a title shot before Dwayne Crespo, even though Dwayne Crespo beat him in that match. Yeah. Now Dane's the champion, and Dwayne Crespo still isn't getting a title shot. He's going against McKinney Manu. So, I mean, I don't know what this guy's got to do to prove himself, but the odds have McKinney Manu as a winner here, and I don't know if I agree with it.
I think a lot of the gripe around McKinney Manu stem back to the Danny Van Heerden match. But to me, he put all of those critics silenced against Steven Rousey. Because being able to see those strikes that he was able to deliver against Steven Rousey, yes, he was the first time he's ever competed, but those were bombs. I think Steven Rousey has a future in the sport, whether we'll see him or not. I think he was a dog and has an opportunity and should be ranked within the top 10. Because to me, that match was an incredibly close match in the sense of what Steven Rousey was able to bring up there to the table, and that guy kept getting up time and time again. And so McKinney Manu just seems to have a different gear to him right now. And to say the least, and talking to him here in New Orleans, he seems like he's fighting for a lot more now. We kind of see McKinney, I think, for a lack of a better term, and I know I kind of say this as a super heavyweight jokingly, but I think he was kind of a little bit lazy in the first start of his career. And I think he's taking it more serious now going into this particular matchup. But like you said, Dwayne Crespo is one of those guys, and I said it, may not be entertaining, but he is tactical. He wants to win by decision, and he'll play every game that he can to be able to get there. There's nothing wrong with it. It's been able to allow him to accumulate success, as you said, most recently obviously beating the current champion, as you said, the Hawaiian Hitman. And so we're going to see how these two athletes collide. And I think in a lot of ways, this is going to be truly telling for where that next opportunity comes, I think it's very safe to say that Dane's going to get an opportunity against Dumpling again, so I think the winner of this will be in a bit of a waiting game once again for that next opportunity. But it's starting to paint that picture, and I kind of see it coming together here. And I mean, from a betting perspective, it could go either way. And so I'd be staying away from this one, I think, on the betting lines, to be honest. I may be copping open saying it, but I don't think it's one that smart money will be going on.
Yeah, you know what? It's fight week. Fight week's always a very, very fun time for us. Obviously, you, myself, Big Jeeves is here. The what I'll call the core team of Slap News. A lot of energy in the building. We've also got a lot of stuff going on, man. We got our tailgate in partnership with Dave & Buster's tomorrow night, Thursday, July 17th. Come on out, 6 to 8 p.m. We got some cool stuff planned. One of the cool things that we got planned, Corey, I'll let you kind of segue into this, but we got a product launch coming. What can you tell people about what's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, tune in tomorrow at the Dave & Buster's tailgate party. We are going to be launching a very cool collab that we are doing. I'm not going to give away too much. You're going to have to tune in to be able to see it, but we're incredibly excited to be able to deliver what we think is a great product and a great partnership, and something that we're incredibly excited to be part of. I mean, we've kept real close to our vest. What we've done, I think we've delivered a lot of value in terms of what we did. We've done a lot of thought and planning into the moves that we are making here, and we think that the fans and followers of Slap News are really going to appreciate the authenticity of what it is that we're doing. And I think it's going to be one hell of an entertaining thing. I mean, you guys seen what we did with Pegasus smelling salts, and if you thought that video was great, just wait to what is going to be coming here in the near future, and we think you guys are going to love it. So we appreciate everybody who tunes in, listening to us knuckleheads. We work incredibly hard to be here. We take time away from our family to be here, to be able to bring you guys, cutting edge coverage, and hands down the number one slap fighting team in the country, covering all things power slap. We're going to be back tomorrow, the weigh-in show, starting at 9 a.m. I guess we're Central Time,
yep,
which is 10 in the East, 7 a.m. Pacific, 2-hour weigh-in. So we're going to see how that goes, and then we're coming back with the tailgate party later on, and of course, our patented, our legendary coverage that we have around event night. You're gonna want to tune in. Make sure you're hitting up the IG. I'm sure we're gonna pop on live there. We're gonna have post-fight interviews being posted, and you never know who we're gonna see in the crowd. We know there's actually a ton of other power slap strikers in attendance as well. Pono Paul is here. Jackie Cataline is coming in. We've seen Holly Hood here in attendance, and we know there's gonna be more power slap athletes coming. And, of course, the after party. So if you're out here in New Orleans, you're going to tune in to Slap News, because the after party is going to be coming right at you. Like I said, we appreciate you signing off from New Orleans.